This is another episode of Christopher Reads the Help Files, Getting Started, Object Styles, and Properties in Autodesk Civil 3D. Topics in this section: about Autodesk Civil 3D objects, design entities that are created in Autodesk Civil 3D drawing are referred to as objects. About Civil 3D object styles, label styles, and table styles. Styles control the appearance of drawing objects, labels, and tables. About layers in Autodesk Civil 3D. Each object in Autodesk Civil 3D has a base layer on which the object physically resides, and component layers that control the display of object components, such as surface triangles or contours. To work with object styles. About object names in Autodesk Civil 3D. Autodesk Civil 3D objects use a name template to specify the object name. About object editing tools. Object editing in Civil 3D uses an approach that is consistent for all objects. The main editing tools are described here. Let's see. So this is no longer true with pressure pipes. Because it is in the ribbon where the other Civil 3D objects have tools outside of the ribbon. And surfaces do not have it as well. So this makes it not consistent. It's like, oh, this is better, but they break the consistency. And so this is no longer true. To work with object properties, about isolating and hiding objects, Autodesk Civil 3D provides easy-to-use features for temporarily isolating or hiding selected objects in your drawing, to isolate or hide objects in a drawing. So I'll go ahead and submit this feedback. About Autodesk Civil 3D objects. Design entities that are created in an Autodesk Civil 3D drawing are referred to as objects. The primary Autodesk object types are as follows. For more information about the object, click the corresponding link. So I guess I'm not going to read all of them, but there's a bunch of them. Looks like they've got most of them. Yep, pressure networks, pressure pipes, LMN, pipe networks. Use the Prospector and Settings tab in Toolspace to access detailed object properties and settings. For more information, see about the Toolspace window. Object interaction. The Autodesk Civil 3D objects automate the design process by interacting with other Civil 3D objects. In the object model, changes in one object can be passed on automatically to associated objects where desired. For example, if you redesign an alignment curve, any grading using that alignment as a baseline can be modified accordingly. In addition, all related stationing, labels, and alignment-specific data is updated. So this makes it kind of confusing because gradings can't be built from alignments. This implies that it can maybe use corridors instead, because it is a grading, I guess, in the sense that you're moving dirt, but since there is a Civil 3D object called grading, I think it's up here. Yep, gradings. So you would assume from this sentence that you could create it from an alignment, which I don't believe you can. They're really modifying a corridor. In addition, all related stationing labels and other alignment-specific data is updated. The following table provides examples of which objects can be updated when you edit each type of object. When you edit this type of object, points, these objects may be updated. Surfaces. Surfaces update grading, profiles, pipe networks, corridors. So surfaces parcels, grading, corridors, alignments, grading, parcels, corridors, profiles, sections, pipe networks, intersections. Profiles, intersections, I don't know if this is meant to be all-inclusive, but they've definitely missed some. Grading will update surfaces and corridors, I guess. Subassemblies update assemblies and corridors. Assemblies update corridors. Pipe networks update surface and alignments. Feature lines, grading, sample lines, sections, mass haul diagrams. Pressure networks are missing. And then we have the next topic, Autodesk Civil 3D object styles, label styles, and table styles. Styles control the appearance of drawings, objects, labels, and tables. Different styles can be created to represent objects at different approval stages or to display the right information for different types of users. Object styles. Object styles control the appearance of Autodesk Civil 3D objects in the drawing. The object styles in Autodesk Civil 3D have general attributes such as object color, visibility of components, line types, and fill patterns. Object styles for surface parcels and an alignment showing stylization. You can use styles to efficiently manage object appearance. If you change a style definition, the changes are applied automatically to all of the objects using that style. Styles for each object type are managed in the Toolspace Settings tab. The general collection contains styles that can be used more than one object type, called multipurpose styles, as well as shared label styles. For example, slope pattern styles can be shared by gradings and corridors, and marker styles can be shared by points and survey components. Kind of feels like there should be some commas in there. If you want to customize some attributes of a style, you can create a new style or make changes to an existing style and save it with a new name. Groups of styles can be collected and saved as a drawing template file. All drawings created from a specific DWT will share the same styles. Label styles. Label styles control the appearance and content of labels in the drawing. Label styles including 2 alignment labels in a drag state. Label styles can include text, blocks, lines, ticks, and leaders. You can preview their appearance in the Label Style Composer dialog box, as shown in the following illustration. So this is wrong now. Or maybe it never was right. Include reference text. And then the next section, preview customized label style for parcel area. You can create and save label sets for alignments, profiles, and sections. Which allows you to apply multiple label types in one operation. For example, an alignment label set could include labels for major stations, minor stations, and geometry points. General label styles are used by lines, curves, feature lines, and corridors. This collection also contains note label styles, which are not specific to an object. Table styles. Table styles are used to manage the display of object tables. Tables provide a concise display of object data as an alternative to using object labels. The label styles control the data properties and the displayed components of the table. Data properties include the data format, order of columns, text style, and whether the table title and column headers are repeated if the table is split. Display components include borders, separators, fill, and text. You can control the visibility, color, line type, and scale of each component. About layers in Autodesk Civil 3D. Each object in Civil 3D has a base layer which the object physically resides, and component layers that control the display of each component, such as surface triangles or contours. The base layer is defined in the drawing settings or at creation time. The component layers are defined in the object styles. Object base layer. You specify the default base layers for the object in the Objects Layers tab of the Drawing Settings dialog box. When you create an object, you can accept the default or specify a new layer. The base layers are used only for the main object types, such as surfaces and alignments. Because the object physically resides on the base layer, you can control the object visibility by changing the layer state. For example, if you turn off the base layer for surfaces, all surfaces are turned off in the drawing. Tip: to append the object name to the layer name for that object, add an asterisk as a prefix or suffix to the base layer name, which then negates the previous sentence, but I guess I'm going to let that slide. Object component layers. You specify component layers on the Display tab of the Object Style dialog box. The following example shows layers used for alignment components. Objects are physically created on the base layer, but the display of components is governed by the associated component layers. Each object component uses the visibility setting for the component layer, such as on, off, as well as the color, line type, line weight, and plot style for the layer if the various component display settings are set to by layer. Layer 0 has special meaning in the component design settings. When the layer is set to 0, the object base layer is used for that component. For example, if the alignment base layer is C-road and the layer for the line component is set to 0, then the alignment lines behave as if they are located on C road, not layer 0. Setting up styles using the by layer setting or specific settings. If you are accustomed to controlling objects by manipulating layers, you may want to set the various object style component display settings to by layer. Then you can simply change the layer settings using the AutoCAD layer command, rather than editing styles to change the color, line type, line weight, or plot style of an object component. Tip: using the by layer settings provide more control over object display to people viewing Autodesk Civil 3D drawings in object-enabled AutoCAD. However, if you want the object to always have the same settings, regardless of component layer settings, you can specify the specific component display settings. To work with object styles. To create a new object style. To copy, edit, or delete an existing object style. On the Settings tab in Toolspace, right-click on an object style collection. New. On the Settings tab in Toolspace, expand the object style collection. Right-click on Object Style, copy, edit, or delete. Note: you cannot delete a style that is referenced in the drawing. To change style settings, on the Settings tab in Toolspace, right-click on an existing object style and click Edit. Review and edit settings on the various tabs of the Style dialog box. To specify a different style for an object, select the object in the drawing, right-click and click Properties. In the Properties palette, select a different style. About object names in Autodesk Civil 3D. Autodesk Civil 3D objects use a name template to specify the object name. A name template is a default name for that format that can be incremented for each new object of that type. For example, when you create an alignment, you will see alignment, next counter, CP. Wow. I don't know. Is there a language that uses CP? I'm not sure. And you can see that if we go into Civil 3D, under the settings, and we go to Edit Feature Settings, and the default name format, it has the CP, but if you insert a next counter, it gets removed. So it's only exists now in the default template. It's no longer added because it makes no sense because a number can have capitalization, at least in English. Maybe there's a country out there that uses something different. Maybe using Roman numerals. And this is a name template. The default template will use the word alignment and then follow it with the next available number, the next counter. Each time you create a new alignment, for example, alignment -1, alignment -2, and so on, next to the object name field, you can click the edit symbol to display the name template dialog box where you can set up the default format you want to use. So let's go ahead and create a new surface. And if we click in here, I guess that's a wrong one because it's got an ellipse. So I guess the icon hasn't been redesigned like the other icons. Or you can specify a name manually by clearing the name template format from the object name field and then typing a new name. Object names are displayed in Toolspace. You can edit the object names by changing the object properties. Naming constraints for objects and styles. Object and style names restrict the use of certain characters. When naming an object or style, do not use the following characters. And so, I think that's all I had to say on that. About object editing tools. Object editing in Autodesk Civil 3D uses an approach that is consistent for all objects. That is false. Item view. When you click an object or an object collection on the Prospector tab, for example, points or alignments, an item view appears. An item view can be either a list view or a graphical view, depending on the object selected. The item view represents a table in which you can review and edit data for each object in the selected collection. For example, if you select a point group, the item view table includes a row for each point in the point group. Click a table cell to edit the value. Panorama window. Some object types, such as alignments and profiles, use the panorama window to display a table of entities that make up the object. The panorama window is a floating, dockable window that you can keep open as you work. It can include several tables, called vistas, on different tabs. Panorama data shown in black text can be edited. Data shown in gray text cannot be edited. Double-click a table cell value to edit the value. So it's not even consistent here. Are not consistent, negating the first sentence. And I guess I should do single versus double clicks. So property editors. When you right-click any object on the Prospector tab and then click Properties, you can view all of the Autodesk Civil 3D properties of that object and edit some of them. These properties typically include the styles, labels, related objects, and some details of the current object. So that's definitely false, because no or most objects no longer include, most objects don't include labels. Oh man. Oh well. They don't want my feedback. I can hit submit. AutoCAD Properties Editor. When you right-click an object in the drawing and then click Properties, the AutoCAD Properties dialog box is displayed. You can use this dialog box to review and edit the AutoCAD properties, such as the layer on which the object is drawn. You can view the style assigned to the object, and you can also change it here. You can also edit the object style on the Settings tab of Toolspace. Right-click on the object style, click Edit to open the feature Style dialog box. Editing AutoCAD properties for a pipe label. They forgot this part where you have to select objects, open up the AutoCAD properties, see that it's blank, close the AutoCAD object properties dialog box or palette, and then reopen it, which is really annoying. But Autodesk product managers don't give a shit, so they haven't fixed it, even when you mention it to them directly. But hey, I guess users are important. For your money, at least. Grips. When you select an object in the drawing, grips appear on the object. You can use these grips to click and drag the object to a new location. For example, when editing alignments, you can use grips to move point of intersection or points of line, arc, tangency. When you use a grip to drag a label object to a new location, a round reset grip appears. You can click this round grip to return the label to its original location. If there are multiple leader lines, click on the round grip once to restore the leader to its original state. Click the round grip twice to restore a dragged label to its undragged state. Use round grip to restore label leader or to reset label. To work with object properties. The Autodesk Civil 3D object properties can be modified using the Autodesk Civil 3D object properties dialog boxes, the properties palettes, and the quick properties palette. Autodesk Civil 3D object properties. Each Autodesk Civil 3D object has its own dialog box which contains the most properties relevant to that object. Use these dialog boxes as the primary interface for adjusting Autodesk Civil 3D object properties. For example, use the alignment properties dialog box to adjust properties for the selected alignment object in a drawing. To access comprehensive Autodesk Civil 3D object properties, select an Autodesk Civil 3D object and click Object Name Properties on the Modify panel of the Contextual Ribbon tab, or right-click an Autodesk Civil 3D object and click Object Name Properties in the context menu. Properties Palette. The Properties Palette can be used as an alternative method of editing Civil 3D object properties. By exposing these properties in the Properties Palette, they are also available to be used with the QSelect command. For more information, see the AutoCAD help. To access Autodesk Civil 3D object properties in the Properties palette, select an Autodesk Civil 3D object and click Properties on the General Tools panel of the Contextual Ribbon tab. Right-click an Autodesk Civil 3D object and click Properties in the context menu. Quick Properties palette. For each Civil 3D object, the name, description, style, and layer are available for editing in the Quick Properties palette. You can easily customize the quick properties for any object in the Customize User Interface editor. For more information, see the AutoCAD help. To access Autodesk Civil 3D object properties in the Quick Properties palette, enable the Quick Properties mode by entering QP mode at the command line and entering 1. Select an Autodesk Civil 3D object in the drawing. In the Quick Properties palette, edit the desired properties. Just be careful when you add properties to it that you don't add too many, because if you add too many, then it becomes really, really slow, and it takes a while for it to open. Matching object properties. The Match Properties command can be used with Autodesk Civil 3D objects. When you use the Match Properties command between civil objects, the style and object display properties of the selected source object are applied to the selected destination objects. For more information, see the AutoCAD help. About isolating and hiding objects. Autodesk Civil 3D provides easy-to-use features for temporarily isolating or hiding selected objects in your drawing. Isolating or hiding objects in external references. When you are working with external references, you can hide and isolate objects. When you're working with external references, you can hide and isolate objects. You can isolate an external reference within a host drawing as a whole by selecting it and isolating it. You can isolate individual objects within an external reference by opening the external reference, isolating objects as needed, saving the external reference drawing, and then reloading the external reference. You cannot isolate objects in an external reference while editing it with RefEdit in the host drawing. You need to use Xopen and save the desired hide isolate settings within the external reference. You cannot display hidden objects in an external reference while editing it with RefEdit in the host drawing. You need to use Xopen and save the desired hide isolate results within the external reference. Saving drawings that contain isolated or hidden objects. When you save a drawing in which some objects are isolated for viewing while others are hidden, the drawing is displayed with the isolation and hide settings the next time you open the drawing. For example, you could save a specific setting to distribute the file to a contractor who needs to only see a specific part of the drawing. You could also save a specific view setting in a drawing that is used as an external reference within another drawing. If you want to distribute a drawing with isolated or hidden objects, make sure that you and the recipient of the drawing are working with the same version of Autodesk Civil 3D. A recipient who is working with an earlier version of Autodesk Civil 3D in AutoCAD or Autodesk Civil 3D Object Enabler may not be able to display the hidden objects. In this case, end object isolation before saving and distributing the drawing. So this is definitely no longer true. This whole section is no longer true. Isolated or hidden objects become visible on reopening. I don't know. It's like totally wrong. And I'm not even sure if this ever worked. To isolate or hide objects in a drawing. To isolate objects, select the objects in the drawing that you want to isolate. Right-click and click Isolate Objects. Isolate selected objects. Alternatively, you can click the shapes on the right side of the drawing window status bar and then click Isolate Objects and select the objects you want to isolate. When you have isolated objects in your drawing, the status bar icon changes as the following. I guess the circle's blue. To hide objects, select the objects in the drawing that you want to hide. Right-click and click Isolate Objects, hide selected objects. Alternatively, you can click the icon on the right side of the drawing window status bar, and then click Hide Objects and select the objects you want to hide. When you have hidden objects in your drawing, the status bar icon changes as follows. To end object isolation and to show hidden objects, click the icon on the right side of the drawing window status bar and then click End Object Isolation. I guess that's all true. And so this was Christopher reads the help files, objects, styles, and properties in Autodesk Civil 3D in the Getting Started section.